Welcome, everyone. This is a fireside discussion hosted by Rebellion Ventures with the CEO of Quandri, Jackson Fregeau. And I'm super excited about this session. We'll be diving into software, AI robots, and digital workers and the opportunities that they will present to revolutionize productivity and elevate human work. So in terms of the agenda, I will first share a little bit of industry and market context on AI and automation opportunities and why we partnered with Quandri. And then we'll dive into the discussion with Jackson, learning more about software AI robots, Quandri strategy, and Jackson's learnings and priorities thus far. So Jackson, welcome. It's awesome to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jukka. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And for everyone in the audience, you can post questions using Zoom's Q&A feature. So we will take those questions and weave those into the discussion, or then we'll try to cover those at the end. So please post questions using this Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. So I will get us started with a little bit of industry and market context. From Rebellion's perspective, we target specific industry verticals and functional processes where the status quo and manual, inefficient operations and business models are ripe for disruption with AI and automation. And we partner with entrepreneurs to help them build AI and automation companies that can create revolutionary value, typically 10x to 100x type of value and ROI for customers by automating processes, by augmenting humans, and by enabling new AI-powered business models and operations. And we've been very excited about software robots and digital workers as they bring fantastic opportunities to revolutionize productivity and really elevate human work and enable higher outcomes and bring that ethical, responsible AI and automation to help companies and people. And there are 5 key reasons why we partnered with Quandri. Number one, Quandri offers a revolutionary value for customers with Quandri's digital worker platform that enables software AI robots to automate processes. And Quandri's customers can get 80% cost savings, 10 times faster processes, and shift humans to higher value-added work. It's a very clear, very compelling value proposition. The second reason is that Quandri and the team there has a very deep understanding of the target customer problem in the insurance industry that Quandri has focused on thus far. And Quandri is not trying to do everything to everybody, but really has a very tight focus and has picked a well-defined target market to start with. And thirdly, Quandri has already had a lot of proven success with delivering value to customers, and it's very impressive what they've been able to do to help customers automate processes. And then fourth, the insurance market, it's one of the largest industries in the world. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry and employs several million people in North America alone. And there's a lot of opportunity to help insurance companies, brokers and agencies, and as well as carriers to automate work. And then lastly, the team Quandri just has demonstrated exceptional entrepreneurial talent and brings both a mix of technical know-how as well as business building know-how. So we're just very excited and very privileged to be working with Quandri. So that's a little bit of background of where we're coming from when we look at this. And let's dive now into discussion with you, Jackson, to learn more about your approach to software AI robots and your strategy and learning. So to get started, can you give us a brief background of Quandri? What inspired you to build Quandri, and also what's your vision for the company?
Yeah, sounds good. And thank you for all the kind words as well, Jukka. We started Quandri. So I founded Quandri with my brother, Jameson. Both of us were very interested pretty early on in entrepreneurship. We always thought that was something we wanted to do. The way that we looked at it, entrepreneurship and specifically technology entrepreneurship, is a way to have a really large impact early in your career, right? It's as meritocratic as you can be. based on your business success, your product success, really on your own effort and your team's effort, you can have a really large impact early on without needing to get through a hierarchy. So it really appealed to us. When we started Quandri, I was actually working in a previous startup. I was running operations there. And part of my operations team was doing a lot of high volume repetitive data entry into a software application that we couldn't read or write what we wanted via the API. So I initially built a few robots to solve that problem. That worked pretty well. And then really we looked around, and this is in 2020, and it was shocking the amount of high volume repetitive work, regardless of the industry, that people were doing every single day. And to us, that just seemed sort of ridiculous, where we think of ourselves as, so advanced, and technology is so modern, but even in like modern industries, like working in software, people were still doing a lot of this work. So we just saw that there really had to be a better way. So we initially saw an opportunity where obviously companies, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, they'd achieved a lot of success in really large enterprise companies, but mid-market SMB didn't really have access to this technology due to cost, timeline of implementation, complexity of implementation. It just didn't really make sense. So we saw an opportunity for what's now called, robots as a service, which is really a pre-trained robot, or a robot that can be deployed quickly and easily to solve a use case without needing 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of implementation. And you can achieve a really quick payback period on it. So we initially saw an opportunity for that. We went wide across a number of verticals to start with the goal of picking one and going really deep, because it is really operational software that we're building. And I think for that to be able to realize the value that you need, being vertical is important. Experimented across healthcare, insurance, construction, financial services, and retail. And after we worked with our first couple of insurance brokerages, would be about 2.5 years ago now, we just realized some of the scope and magnitude of the pain, and it wasn't going away anytime soon, and really that it was a hair on fire problem there. So decided to pick that as our beachhead and made that pivot for our company.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Very interesting way to think about the opportunity and how to have an impact, and then also identify your target, your first market to focus on. Can you provide more color on what software robots are, what they do, and maybe give some specific examples of what kinds of software robots from Quandri your customers have deployed thus far?
Sure. Yeah, really the way that we think of a software robot is kind of a collection. It's a collection of different techniques or different pieces of technology that is automating work that people are doing manually right now across a variety of systems or applications. So for us, what that means is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with RPA, robotic process automation. We really think of that as kind of the hands and feet of the robots, right? It's how they interact with these systems. If they don't have good API connectivity, it's how you work across systems, how you extract data, it's how you put data back in. And then in insurance, there's a lot of documents, a lot of data is stored in insurance policies. So we use a lot of OCR, we use machine learning to extract that data, to make sense of that data, to make recommendations back. That's really the brain of the bot. Those kind of combinations of that technology, so that you have intelligent automation is really what it is. An example of one of the processes that our robots will automate is the renewal review process. So if our customer right now is an insurance brokerage or an insurance agent. So in those businesses, let's say your home policy is renewing, Jukka. What that part of that agent's value prop is, when that policy is renewing, that they're going to look at your policy, they're going to look at last year's policy, they're going to look at any endorsements, they're going to see what's changed. They're going to see if anything's changed in the market. There's maybe more coverages that you should have based on, recent floods or wildfires or whatever it might be. Maybe there are some discounts that you're now eligible for that the carrier didn't put on your policy, that they should add that in. Additionally, they're looking at that to see, if there's any opportunity to upsell, cross-sell, maybe put additional products on there, have you pay more to them. In actuality, that comprehensive review happens on maybe 25% of policies. If you're a really operational business, maybe you do it on 80%, but it costs you a ton of money, because that takes 15 to 20 minutes for a person to do. And if you have a book of 10 to 100,000 policies, you have entire teams of people doing this type of work. So it's a really large cost center. So what one of our robots will do, logs into the system, identifies upcoming renewals, extracts all of those policies, all of the documents, takes all of that data out, takes any other data out of the profile, analyzes that data, and then provides a recommendation back so that the advisor, the agent, instead of them spending 15 minutes combing through the data and pulling all that out, it's right in front of them. They can make that call to their client and they can say, hey, Jukka, look at all this work I did. You're still with the best market. You should probably have this coverage. Maybe they get a bit of an upsell. And importantly, they retain your business. That's really an important driver. So that's one example of a process that we've automated.
Yeah, very good, very clear, very exciting. You mentioned RPA, robotic process automation, that in general has existed for a while, and these first generation RPA vendors like UiPath and Automation Anywhere, they build really big businesses serving mainly large enterprises, like you noted, and their solutions have been very complex to implement, requiring a lot of custom implementation work. Can you talk a bit more about what is Quandri's unique approach to software robots, and how your approach is different from that kind of traditional RPA?
Yeah, I think it comes down to three things. So number one is that we are completely vertical, so vertically focused on one industry and one customer. Number two, we're even more focused on a limited number of use cases within that vertical. And then beyond just RPA, we have other technologies that are native in the software robots. It's not that you're bolting on kind of a third-party OCR, like that's just built into how the technology functions. I'll dig into each of those a little bit more. Like vertical application, I think, is probably the most important. So some of our customers, like some of our larger customers, are using a tool like UiPath or Automation Anywhere, but the depth that those tools can go in their businesses is limited. They can only handle a certain complexity of process within those businesses because they're not purpose-built for those systems or for those pieces of technology. So they can really just take off kind of the really like rote high volume processes, but they can't go much deeper than that. Additionally, because they're a horizontal tool, it takes a really long time to implement. You're doing business requirements from scratch, you're doing testing from scratch. And importantly, like if you spin up a bot, that bot has only worked for you, right? One of the tricky parts with RPA is that it's brittle, right? It runs into a new edge case or a new exception and it stops working. But with our technology, we have implemented that one robot 80 times across our customer base. So it's ran into all of these different edge cases, all of these different exceptions. It learns over time across that broader customer base. So it becomes extremely robust, which means that it just runs faster and doesn't have those issues. And your time to value to implement is much quicker. By focusing on those limited use cases, we just know those problems really well. So we can, importantly, we can sell it well. We really know the value proposition, and we can implement it quickly. So we can show the time to value and the path to value to our customers. And we can do that very clearly, which just means that they are comfortable making those decisions and comfortable doing the implementation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Super helpful. And just as a quick interim reminder for the audience, feel free to post questions. You can put those in the Zoom Q&A feature, and we'll try to get those covered as we go here. So let's talk more about the insurance industry that you picked as your initial focus industry. Can you tell us what you've learned so far about insurance companies' needs to automate work, and what you learned about opportunities to have a positive impact on their business?
Yeah, I would say number one is that those needs are large to have that work automated. Yeah, the insurance industry is interesting. It's really it's data and relationships, right? It's a data processing industry. All of the work items is really data, and then it's relationships that really make that data go round. What we've found is that although it is such a data intensive industry, the tooling that is widely available to actually process and handle a lot of that data is not where you would expect it to be. The innovation that has driven a lot of other industries forward over the last 15 years has not had the same impact in the insurance industry. And as a result, there is still a massive amount of manual processing work required to underwrite a policy, to submit a policy, to manage a claim, to review a policy, to administer a policy on the brokerage side. There's a lot of manual steps kind of intermittently throughout that entire process. And there's a very large need for the type of innovation that we do, but more broadly, just more technology and more innovation in the space.
Yeah, for sure. You've already enabled lots of customers to successfully deploy software robots. Can you tell us what you've learned, you and the team Quandri overall, what you've learned about customers' challenges in automating work? So what are the challenges that they need to face or they need to overcome when they want to automate work, and how they can actually successfully leverage robots?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've learned is that most customers aren't that creative. So if you come to them with, like a capability, and then they need to figure out how to find the value and deploy that capability, that hasn't worked that well. And that's sort of how we started, like where we really started to find success with customers and make it a lot easier for them to find value was being a lot more prescriptive about the path to value. So knowing what the use case is, understanding the use case really well, knowing the path to implementation and the path to value. That's really important, because it's not just, you're not just implementing the technology, but you need to understand the change management behind the scenes for them to realize that value. So being really focused on those specific use cases has really, really helped there. I think another piece is really simplifying the technology from a customer's perspective. With a segment of our customers, they don't care what our technology is, right? They don't care that we're using machine learning or RPA or OCR. Like, it really doesn't matter to them. And if you get sort of in the weeds on what you're actually doing, sometimes it's just confusing and prevents things from moving forwards. Really, what we have found value with is just focusing on the value that we're actually driving for these businesses. Focus them on that value, focus us on that value. The technology just being a tool to realize that value. And that allows us and customers to find that quicker.
Very interesting and very good, very interesting learnings. Thank you for sharing. So Quandri recently announced a new capability that you call Control Room, that enables customers to configure, test, and deploy their own AI-powered robots. Can you provide a bit more of an overview of what is Control Room, what's your strategy with it, and what do you see it doing for your customers?
Yeah, so it really comes with the name. Like, what it really allows them to do is to control their own AI robots. So prior to this, our product was primarily backend, right? The robot would be deployed into the system. It would be running there. If there was configuration that needed to happen, that was really, kind of back and forth and in spreadsheets and that type of thing. So what this allows them to do is to configure their robots upfront, configure them over time, test them themselves, move them between demo environments and production environments. It really allows them to take the reins on their deployment and on ongoing configuration, so they can personalize it over time as the needs of their business change. What that really does for customers is it makes it easier to deploy, makes it faster to deploy. As an example, it used to take us, probably 6 months ago, it took us 5 months to deploy something like this. Our last 4 deployments, customers have deployed it on average in 45 days, with the most recent one being in under 30 days. So that time to value is crucial. And this has really allowed customers to achieve time to value faster and with less work. It's less work on their side to do it, and it can adapt to their business over time, which has been really important. And for us, obviously, it makes us a lot more efficient.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So looking forward, how do you think about your technology vision, especially when it comes to continued innovation with software robots and AI, and how you can leverage AI?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the way that we have built our technology has been very focused, right? So right now with the products that we sell, we have 3 very specific use cases, and those use cases are fairly rigid, right? This robot does this, this robot does this, this robot does this. And we've done that intentionally, because to drive value in enterprises, it needs to work extremely well. We can't have like 80% accuracy. We can't have 90% accuracy. It can't work some of the time. It needs to work extremely well. So we've really needed to make that sort of rigid around it. But where we see it going is utilizing more AI on the robots themselves. We use, machine learning and stuff on document extraction and on the data, but on the robots themselves to make them a lot more flexible. I think by starting with these really rigid use cases that drive value, it gets you into the customer's business. You become a trusted partner, but then you can expand with more interesting technology to expand the scope of use cases, and importantly, like the flexibility of how those robots can actually work, so that they don't need to be as rigidly applied to like this and this and this, but they can have a bit more agency over what they're doing within defined parameters. So we think that by taking those rigid use cases and then applying tools like generative AI, that we'll be able to attack more use cases faster than we would have been able to when we started. But starting with the rigidity, I think, was important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's a very, very logical approach. And as you said, there's a lot of opportunities to make these robots more flexible, more versatile by leveraging AI, and in particular generative AI. Let's talk about your Series A. You raised a highly successful Series A in 2023 during a very tough market. What do you think enabled Quandri to raise Series A successfully, and what lessons do you think Quandri's success offers other entrepreneurs?
I think for us, traction was really important. So just the ARR growth that we had, and the ARR that level that we were at for our size of company was really important. I think beyond that though, like sort of unsexy is sexy. Like we're serving a rather unsexy industry, right? Insurance brokerages. When people think of insurance brokers, and we ran into this with a lot of investors, they think of insurance brokers as sort of dinosaurs who don't want to adopt new technology, who don't want to spend money, who don't want to innovate. And as a result, that's a pretty underserved segment. It's a segment that hasn't seen a lot of new technology and hasn't seen a lot of venture investing. As a result, you can build a really strong business driving value for that segment, right? And what our business is built around, and has been from day one, how do we drive really strong, tangible business value for insurance brokerages? And I think, 2 years ago, or even a year and a half ago, like that isn't as compelling, or wasn't as compelling. But I think in like that little bit of venture downturn, like venture investors wanted to invest in real businesses that drove real value for end customers, and that's what our business was and is, which is why I think we were able to achieve pretty good results.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight. When you think about opportunities for AI and automation to revolutionize productivity and have a big economic impact, it's especially in some of these traditional industries where there's a lot of people, a lot of data, a lot of manual work, and that is ready for disruption, and you can unlock a lot of economic value by doing so. It's a great point.
Massive. And to kind of hit that point home, so I'll share an example with one of our customers. They're a 200-person organization. With one of our use cases, we were able to automate the work. One robot, multiple robots working, but one use case was able to automate the work of about 10 full-time people for the cost of, they're about 2. So that's about 5% of their workforce, right? That we're able to automate through that. Like that is not a negligible number. And that is just going to be able to grow over time as we deploy more use cases into their business. So it can be a pretty large shift for these companies.
For sure. So when you think about continuing to build on the success that you've had thus far, how do you see Quandri's priorities going forward? How are you growing and scaling the company, and what are you focused on? What are you and the team focused on going forward?
Yeah, so a few main things we're focused on right now. One thing that I'm really focused on right now is building out our leadership team. We've hired really strong engineering leadership. We just hired a really strong customer success leader. just yesterday, we hired our head of sales, a VP of sales. So building out and rounding out that leadership team is going to be really important to be able to continue to drive growth and priorities going forwards. We are expanding slowly, but expanding the number of use cases that we can deploy as well. So we're working on one right now that we'll be able to deploy for our customer base probably halfway through the year, so that we're continuing to add the number of robots that customers can use. We are the sort of third thing that we're focusing on, which is really the kind of next level of the company, is really the data side of things as well. So while the robots are doing a lot of the automation, there's also a lot of data being processed, and the data tooling in the insurance industry is also a little bit behind. So there's an opportunity for us to take that, serve that back to our customers, to allow them to drive a lot better insights and a lot more value out of their businesses while they're already getting the value out of the automation. So that's another priority that we're taking on right now.
Awesome. I'll combine here two questions from the audience into a two-part question for you. The first question is about your target parts of the insurance vertical in terms of are you focusing on specific types of insurance like property, casualty, life, and so on? So how do you think about the scope within the insurance vertical in terms of different types of insurance? And then secondly, how do you think about your potential expansion beyond insurance brokerages based on the learnings that you've had and the success that you've had? How do you think about then longer term expansion into other potential vertical areas?
Yeah, so we're starting with a very small TAM of the overall insurance market. We're focused on P&C, so property and casualty brokerages and agents. So personal insurance, home, auto, commercial, that type of stuff. So we're focused there right now. We'll be focused there for the near future. While that's a sort of very small segment of the overall insurance market, it's still a pretty large market, and there's a ton of opportunity for us to really nail and drive a lot of value for that customer in that segment. Over time, we see expansion both segments of insurance and then also segments of customers. So I think initially it will be P&C and moving vertically with carriers, but then also moving into other forms of insurance like life and health. So those are sort of two segments of expansion, but we think it's more natural to actually expand within P&C initially. A core competency of ours is the ability to extract high levels of data extremely accurately from P&C documents right now, and we can continue to leverage that in the P&C space with other customers.
Fantastic. So I'll ask you one last final question for us to wrap it up. Sure. I know building culture is important for you. That's something that you've been intentional about for the past year and beyond to build the right type of culture. Can you talk more about what type of culture you're building at Quandri? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I think that the culture is really important. The way that we think about the culture is sort of like type 2 fun. If you're familiar with that from rock climbing, it's like climbing a mountain, right? It's hard, it's kind of painful. It may not be really fun while you're doing it, but you experience a level of satisfaction and reward from the hard work, from the challenge, and like the growth you get out of that is so important. So I would say, as far as startups go, like we're not the startup that's going to have beer on tap. I think we prioritize like building a great company and giving really great opportunities to the people that we work with. So we really prioritize transparency, we prioritize ownership, prioritize candor and appreciation for the people that work with us, and giving them additional opportunities to learn and grow, and really allowing people to improve continuously. It's not that we're not against fun. Like we do offsites, we bring in facilitators, we have a ping pong table in our new office, so that does happen too. But I think in terms of how we prioritize culture. We really prioritize it around the growth of the people on the team and really having them be able to get phenomenal work experience and growth opportunities out of what we're doing. And how you do that is by building an incredible company. And we want people to be able to benefit from that experience. So I would say that's really the way that we lean.
Fantastic. That's super exciting. I love it. So thank you, Jackson, so much for being us here and sharing your insights and learnings and discussing your priorities going forward. Super interesting, and we continue to be super excited to partner with you and the team Quandri. If people want to follow up with either Jackson or myself, I'll give our email addresses here. Jackson is at jackson@quandri.io. I hope I got that right.
Yep.
And then my email is Jukka, Jukka, @rebellionvc.com. So don't hesitate to follow up with us for any questions or follow-up interests that you may have. So thanks everyone for joining us. And Jackson, any final parting comments that you have before we wrap it up?
No, nothing much. If anybody wants to get in touch, either, other entrepreneurs interested in connecting, talking about their journey, our journey, happy to do that. And if anybody else wants to get in touch to talk about Quandri, happy to make the time. Jukka, really appreciate you having us on here, having me on here. This has been a really, really good discussion, and you've said a lot of nice things about me, and know that you've been a fantastic partner as well. So appreciate working with Rebellion.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks everyone for joining us here. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.